Now we're ready to start to create a painterly effect. We've gone in and made all the necessary adjustments to the image before we start the process. So this is what we started out with after our corrections, and this is what we're going to end up with. And I'm going to walk you through step by step how we created this part of the process. Certain pieces of painterly software require you to duplicate the image before you start, because the process will destroy the original image. So it's always a good idea to come down and make a duplicate image of your original. It also provides you with the ability as a resource to go back and check the difference between what you've done, or to blend the two images together at a later point. So we now have our second copy of the original image. We're going to go on up and we're going to go down and we're going to be using topez impression. I really like this piece of software. It has a lot of adjustability. It allows you to add a lot of effects that a painter would use, and it's not just plug and play. You have tremendous amount of control over what the final product is going to look like. I'm going to make this so that we can see all of the effects, and we can see that the effects are pretty extensive. It has some really great sketching software. There's charcoal, pencil. I use the pencil a lot. And then it's got some of the best sketching software I've seen. And I'll go over how to use this software in another tutorial. Now I'm going to get down. I believe I used Painterly and Oil Paint 3 when I started this. Yep. So this is the starting point. Now you can just accept that and go with it, or you can click here on the controls, and then you can go in and have a tremendous amount of controllability over how the image is going to look. And that's what makes this software special, is that you're not just using some programmer's idea of what a painting should look like. You get to go in and make your own interpretation of how you want the image to appear. Up here you have multiple brush strokes that you can use. You can see we can change the brush strokes, and some of them change a little bit and some of it change them a lot. And you have the ability to decide what type of brush you want to use, what type of effect you want to create. So we're going to go back up. I believe for this one I used that brush right there, because I wanted it gives us a little bit better edge results than I liked with the other one. Now down here we can control how the brushes appear. And you have to sort of figure out what you want. Okay, now I want to try and create a nice clean edge, so I'm going to leave that there. This will increase the texture a little bit. Sometimes the sliders have a tremendous effect, and sometimes they have a very subtle effect. I'm going to put this right in here because I still want to maintain some of the brush strokes here. And you really don't know what something's going to do until you play with it, so you have to sort of move these sliders around. It takes a while to figure out what combination works for you, but if you like the combination, you can save it. Okay. I like that little longer stroke length there. Makes it so that we can actually see the strokes, makes it a little bit more painterly. This is a strange one. It adds a scatter effect. And in some of the things it's really impressive what it does. In others it just doesn't do anything that I like. So I'm going to bring that back down because I don't want too much of that in there. And this is for the coverage. Smudge just smooths things out. Now you can come down here and you can individually adjust any one of these colors in the image, which is a great thing. I mean, I can go in and just adjust the red. I'm happy with the way it is right now. I'm just going to work on the saturation, which is here. So you can desaturate it. You can increase the saturation, and just like anything else, you can have too much saturation. So you have to try and find that sweet spot where the colors just sing. There, I like it right there. Now you can also lighten the image, darken the image. Now I want to put it right back where it was. Let me lighten it a little bit. There we go. Now you can control your brightness and your contrast. And it's important that you move these, because you might say, well, no, that looks pretty good right there, but watch what happens when I give it just a little bit more brightness. See, now it starts to pop. And then now I can adjust the contrast. You don't want to try and make it pop with the color. Now, a lot of people think if you increase the saturation, things are going to look better. I want to try and make it pop because of the way the light's working within the image. Now you can add a vignette, and I usually do just to darken the edges down a little bit. You can adjust it further here. Now this is so that you can set your light source. Now the light source on this should be over here. And what this does is, if you have any textures in the strokes, you can see how it changed the appearance of the texture. Okay, now I don't like that hard, really obvious texture, so I'm going to move it back closer to the center. And you can control your strength, and you have different ones or textures you can pick from here. I'm going to go into this on when we're doing other techniques. For this particular technique, I think that this is fine just the way it is. Okay, so I like it. Now we can also come down here with strength, and we can adjust the blend between this and the original image. See, there's our original image, and I can bring this in and have it work as much as I want it to. Now I may not, I don't think I want it at full strength, so I'm going to bring it down just a tad. There we go. Now this is why you can use this and not make it look like you just used a plug and play, because you have so much control over what the final result is going to look like. Now we could have done this just as easily in Photoshop, and I probably would have done it that way, but I'm going to do it this way in this particular demonstration. So now I'm just going to click OK. And there it is. So here is our new image. There's our original image. Now if we go all the way down, this is an extension that's available from Adobe, which I use a lot. And if you have one of the newer versions of Photoshop, it's available. It's free. And it comes with some really nice textures. And it has the ability to automatically install the textures for you, which is really a nice deal, okay, because you don't have to cut and paste and do all that stuff. And I almost always just end up using one of these when I'm doing most of my textures. So I'm going to click on this one. Oops, I put it in the wrong place. Put it back up here at the top where I want it. Okay, and we can see how this has added a color to the image. Now you can turn it on and off just by clicking on the eye thing, or you can add it. But you can also change the blending mode. I'm going to go to multiply. And then I'm going to add a brightness adjustment. Again, get that where I want it to be. And then I can still adjust the opacity on the layer. Okay, let's get rid of this. Oh, okay. I can see what's happened here. When I use the brightness and contrast adjustment, I should have just clicked this little thing down here, which would have just done the adjustment to the layer below it. that's more what I want. And so now when we turn this on and off, we can see that we haven't really adjusted the layer underneath. Now there's a lot of other little adjustments I did to this that I don't want to go into at this point because I don't want to make this presentation too long. And I'll try and cover some of those other things in detail later. But some of the things, you can see how we have this obvious line in here. I just went in and took that out with the cloning tool, and I took a little of the cloning out of here, and then some burning and dodging, which that's really makes a huge difference. Remember, we want to see the light and how the light's working in the image. Okay, I'm going to hold down the Option key, click here, and go down to Merge Visible, and that's going to give me a complete copy of what was on the bottom right here. Now, I'm going to now take the Dodge tool, and I got it set at about 20% mid-tone, and I want to try and get this light working in here so we can see where the light is coming in around that. No, and then put some of the light where we want it to be. Then I'll go to the Burn tool, change the size on it. And I've got the burn at 6% because I want to work it in really slowly. But now I'm trying to emphasize the shadows. And now we can begin to see the light working in the image. And the burning and dodging is really important because, you know, that's what makes the painting look like a painting. It's what gives it the light working in it. If you're going to do this, you've got to have the light work. You've got to have the light be obvious and make the image have depth and reality. Without that, you know, it just looks like something you applied a filter to. So that's some of the stuff that I would fix as I continue to work on it. I'd probably do a little bit more on my color adjustment and things like that. But so basically that's, whoops, nope. That's what I started with, and that's what I ended up with. So remember, if you want to create a painterly effect, the first thing you have to do is adjust your photograph as a painter would if they were going to paint it. You know, take out the distractions, simplify the image, think about distortion, think about things you want to correct in distortions or distortions you want to apply. Then after you get to that point, then you go into your software, personalize the adjustments, bring it back into Photoshop, and then go in and do a little bit more touching up in Photoshop to give the image a much more painterly and powerful feeling. Every time you do this, you're adding more of yourself to the image and less of the programmer's information. Well, I hope you find this helpful.